everybody, Merry Christmas. Welcome to this Christmas talk. I will be discussing with you today the origins of Santa Claus. There are many different stories of where he's coming from, what part of the world, and all of that. But what I have is a very specific version of this story that has so many tangents that are fitting into the pieces of the puzzle. So, here we go. We're going to share this story of where Santa came from, the original story. The shaman Santa. The world gets turned upside down sometimes, doesn't it? So, happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas, everyone. God jul, as we say, where I'm from. Happy Yule, which is what our talk today is supposed to be about. I'd like to just bring out a holiday celebration talk for you to share with you about the idea of where Santa Claus, the origins of Santa Claus. Because it turns out that what we've been told, right? We've been told that it was Coca-Cola made Santa Claus and sold all of us on this idea. And of course, that's what we were told. That's what many of us believe. And then we were also told that there's something called Father Christmas from the 1400s. There's a religious man in Turkey that also was known to be the origins of Christmas. There's Saint Nicholas in Germany. But it turns out that the origin story of Santa Claus is far older than that. And it started with the shamans in the northern part of our world, the Russian, and in the part where I'm from, in northern Sweden and Finland and Norway, there's Sami people. These are the Lapps. And these are indigenous people who are the reindeer people. They're known as the reindeer people. They are the same tribe as the Native Americans and many indigenous tribes, right? They've faced a lot of the same problems that we've seen all across our world as the Western civilization expanded. Now, when we're looking at the old school idea of Santa Claus, we look at this mushroom called Aminata muscaria, which is the fly agria mushroom, fly mushroom, which is the red and white mushroom, right? The red big top, the hat, and then little red white dots on it. That is what turned into Santa Claus and his colors. It turned out that these tribes that lived in the tundra, in the northern part of our world, they were reindeer people, as I said, and the reindeers would be eating the Aminata muscaria. And when they ate it, they did not get poisoned. If you and I would eat it right off the ground, we wouldn't die, but we would have horrible stomach pains because there's some neurotoxins in it that aren't very good. But there were a few different ways of avoiding to get this toxin in your system. One was to have the reindeer eat the Aminata muscaria, and then they would pee, and then the shaman would drink the pee and would go on a spiritual psychedelic journey. And then also the other people would do it, right? Another version of getting rid of the toxin out of the Aminata muscaria was to dry the mushroom. And how they would dry them, because these people, they lived in yurts. They would have a fireplace, and they would hang up stockings by the fireplace about a month before Christmas. And then they would put the mushrooms in there to dry them out. And so they could make a tea from them around the midwinter solstice, which is the 21st, 22nd. It's the shortest day of the year, longest night of the year. It is the return of the sun. It's the birth of the sun, right? Which, of course, later Christianity took that to be their holiday, but it has much older roots. So we look at, they had the mushrooms hanging in stockings by the fire for about a month, 3 weeks to a month before. That would dry up the mushroom, and then they would eat it. You would also have this idea of the shaman. The shaman would come, and in order to pay homage to or worship the mushroom, he would dress in the colors of the Aminata muscaria, which would be the white on top of the red. And then as he would come in, it was winter, there was a lot of snow, and these yurts that these people lived in, the front door was covered with snow. So the shaman, dressed like what we know as to be Santa, would climb in through the chimney, because it's the only way he could get in, which also made his boots become black from the soot. So he would climb in, serve up gifts, because what the shaman did was he would eat the mushroom and sometimes share it with the people in the house. They would go on journeys, or the shaman would share the gifts that he would receive on the journey. So he would share what's going to happen in this year. He would try and help you heal. He would remove things out of your system, or potentially know where to find new feeding for the reindeer and what kind of winter we would have. All of those things that he could find out. And of course, when you look at the myth of the shaman would come in, right? And then when we see this sled being pulled by reindeers across the sky, and you have the shimmering lights of the northern lights going on behind this sled, the only people who would see that are the Norse people from this old period of time. And the shaman who came in this is the origin story of Santa Claus. He would also be coming from the North Pole, which we also know as the axis mundi of the world, which is the center, the axis, the center of the world. And when you get to the center of the world, you can go up or you can go down to the underworld or the upper world or our world, right? We can also look at our Christmas tree, the fir tree or the pine tree, how in the Norse beliefs they were the tree of life because they were green all year round, and they were usually very high, very tall, and they survived year in and year out. So all of this led into the way we celebrate Christmas now. If you look at, you have the Aminata muscaria, which is the fly mushroom, the red and with the white dots on it. We have it in every Christmas tree. We have it as ornaments in almost every Christmas tree. It's also because the fir tree and the pine tree has a symbiotic relationship with those mushrooms. So the mushrooms feed off the tree and the tree feeds off the mushroom. So that's another reason why we have them as decorations in our trees. I think it's very fascinating to see how in modern times we are not really aware of where these stories come from. That the thought form of creating a very understandable within the box version of Santa Claus, which is what happened when we said that Coca-Cola did it, is taking away the magic from our world. It's taking away this beauty that they would experience when they sat down with that shaman who would come down the chimney of that yurt. And he would truly go and visit other worlds and bring news, tidings, which we consider gifts. And it's really fascinating, at least the way I see it, that's the original story. And we have completely dismantled it and put it into something that works in the Western mindset, where we can understand everything, where everything is non-threatening and it's all understandable. Anyway, this was a little bit of a story around Christmas, the origins of Santa Claus. There are, of course, other stories, but this is the Santa Claus we know, with the white and the red, from the Aminata muscaria. So I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. It is beautiful when we sit in these spaces and we start to come back home. We come into that sense of heart. We come into knowing that yet another year has passed. And yet another year we've been through a lot, this year particularly. But you and I are still here. We're still breathing into our body. We can still feel that life force in every part of our system. And as we breathe deeply into the body, that starts to expand. And it becomes a gift, right? How we experience life as a gift. Much like when we can allow nature to have its own flow. Then we realize that if you can grow some food on some land, and if you eat meat, for example, you have an animal eating on this land, and let's say you have two animals that can procreate, and then you grow some veggies and some potatoes. If you do that on your piece of land, that land keeps on giving. There is no stop to that, right? This is a cyclical nature of our world, the cyclical nature of life. But our mindset in the modern world, we've gone far away from that. And so one of the gifts I would like to share with you is just come back home, breathe into your body, begin to realize that, this is a cyclical system. So much love, so much growth, so many gifts. And I'm so glad you're here. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk soon again. Namaste and aho.